"You're not my real dad," my stepson spat when he was drunk. I walked away from the family I built. The next day, my phone exploded with texts and calls. "My name is Jack. 5 years ago, I met Sarah, a widow with two beautiful children. Noah was 6 and Lily was 4. Their eyes still carried the shadows of loss, but their smiles, when they happened, could light up the darkest corners of the world. I remember how terrified I was at first. What did I know about raising children, especially children carrying grief I couldn't fully comprehend? Every night I'd lie awake wondering if I was doing more harm than good. I remember the first time Noah called me Dad. We were at the park, a casual Sunday afternoon. He fell off the monkey bars, scraped his knee. I rushed over, heart pounding. "I'm okay, Dad," he said through tears. "Dad, my heart, it stopped." I looked at Sarah. She was crying too. Silent tears of something bittersweet, grief and hope tangled together like roots beneath the surface. That night I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, wondering if I could ever live up to that title. I tried. God, I tried. I moved into Sarah's small apartment 3 months later. Took a second job to help with the bills. Started a college fund for the kids. Attended every parent-teacher conference. Learned to braid Lily's hair when Sarah worked late shifts at the hospital. We became a family, not perfect, but real. 2 years in, I proposed to Sarah. We married in a small ceremony by the lake. Noah was my best man. Lily scattered flower petals and twirled in her dress until she collapsed in giggles. That day, I legally adopted them both. New birth certificates, new last names, my children, my family. But something changed as they grew older. It started small. Eye rolls when I asked about homework, sighs when I suggested family movie night. Noah's whatever became his standard response to anything I said. I told myself it was normal. Teenagers push boundaries, test limits. I'd been the same at their age, but it wasn't normal. Not the way Noah would look through me like I was invisible. Not the way Lily would mumble under her breath when I asked her to help with chores. Not the way Sarah would undermine my parenting with a casual, "Oh, let them be." "They need structure," I'd tell her at night after the kids were asleep. "They need to be kids," she'd counter. "You're too strict." Too strict. Because I asked Noah to maintain a B average, because I expected Lily to be home by 11 on weekends, because I wanted them to help with dishes and respect our home. The real breaking point came on Noah's 16th birthday. I'd saved for months to buy him a used car. Nothing fancy, a 2010 Honda with decent mileage and new tires. Safe. Reliable. When he saw it, he frowned. "This is it?" he asked, looking at Sarah. "Mom, you said—" "I know, honey," she cut in, throwing me an apologetic glance. Jack thought this would be more practical than what, I wondered, but I didn't ask, not then. 2 weeks later, I found out. Sarah had promised him a newer, sportier model, one we couldn't afford. She'd been setting me up to be disappointed. That night Noah came home past curfew. His eyes were red. His breath smelled like beer. "Where were you?" I asked, trying to keep my voice level. "It's almost 2 in the morning." "Out," he pushed past me. "That's not an answer, Noah. We were worried." "We," he laughed. "You mean Mom's asleep. I'm your father, and you're breaking the rules we all agreed on." He turned then, his face hardened into something I didn't recognize. "You're not my real dad," he spat. "Stop acting like you own me." My chest tightened. Each word hit like a physical blow. "Noah," Sarah appeared on the stairs, her voice sharp but not at him. At me. "What's going on?" "Jack's on some power trip again," he said, heading toward the stairs. "We'll talk about this in the morning," she told him softly. Then, to me, "Did you have to confront him now? He's tired." "He's drunk," I said, "and it's 2 in the morning. He's a teenager. He's my son." She looked at me then, really looked at me. "Is he?" 3 words. That's all it took to shatter the foundation I thought we'd built. The next morning, over coffee, while the kids were still asleep, I asked her what she meant. Her answer broke something inside me that I'm still trying to fix. "I'm grateful for all you've done, Jack, really, but they had a father. You're more like a stepdad, a guardian. I think sometimes you forget that." A guardian, 5 years of love, sacrifice, and devotion reduced to a legal term. "Do the kids feel this way too?" I asked, my voice hollow. She hesitated. I've always encouraged them to honor Robert's memory, to understand that while you're here for them now, you shouldn't try to replace him. Encouraged them, I repeated. Or reminded them. She didn't answer. She didn't need to. That afternoon, I checked our joint account. Over the past year, Sarah had withdrawn nearly $8,000 in small amounts. Money earmarked for property taxes and home repairs. Money I'd worked overtime to provide. When confronted, she shrugged. The kids needed things. What things? Things you would have said no to. Like a sports car for a 16-year-old. Like the designer clothes hanging in Lily's closet. Like the new gaming system in Noah's room that I didn't remember buying. I'd been played. Set up as the bad guy while Sarah played the hero with my money. That night, Lily came home 2 hours late from a study session. When I questioned her, she rolled her eyes. "You're just some guy Mom married," she said, not even looking up from her phone. "Stop trying to control everyone." I looked at Sarah, waiting for her to correct our daughter, to defend me, to acknowledge the years I'd spent helping with homework, attending dance recitals, holding her hair when she had the flu. Instead, she said, "Lily, go to your room. Jack and I need to talk." When we were alone, I asked the only question that mattered. "Is that how you see me too? Just some guy you married?" "Of course not," she said, but her eyes didn't meet mine. "But you have to understand they're at a difficult age. They're figuring out who they are. By disrespecting me, by erasing everything I've done for this family, you chose to do those things," she said quietly. "Nobody forced you. Nobody forced me, as if love were a transaction, as if family were a business arrangement." That night, I slept in the guest room. I stared at the ceiling fan spinning lazily above me, wondering how many nights I'd spent in this house worrying about everyone else's needs while neglecting my own. My chest felt hollow, empty. The realization that I'd built my entire identity around a role no one actually wanted me to fill was suffocating. I reached for my phone at 3 a.m., scrolling through old family photos. Noah's fishing trip where he caught his first bass. Lily's dance recital where she froze on stage until she saw me giving her a thumbs up. Christmas mornings, beach vacations, evidence of a life I thought we were building together. Was it all an illusion? Had I manufactured a family that never truly existed? The next morning, bleary-eyed and heavy-hearted, I called my bank and opened a separate account. I transferred my next paycheck there instead of our joint account. I stopped picking up extra shifts that had been killing my back and keeping me from sleeping. Started saying no when Sarah mentioned expenses we couldn't afford. The change was immediate and telling, so painfully telling. Sarah's smile disappeared. Noah's attitude got worse. Lily started asking for money directly, and when I refused, she went to her mother, who suddenly couldn't provide it either. 2 weeks in, Sarah confronted me in the kitchen. "What are you doing?" she demanded. "The power bill is due tomorrow." "So pay it," I said, continuing to make my lunch for work. "With what? You know I only work part-time." "Figure it out," I replied, echoing words she'd said to me countless times when I'd expressed concerns about our spending. "I paid the mortgage and my half of the groceries. The rest is on you." Her face flushed. "This isn't fair to the kids. Neither is teaching them that I'm nothing but an ATM with no right to parent them." The bills piled up. The luxuries disappeared. Noah couldn't drive his car because there was no money for gas. Lily's phone broke and no one could replace it. The reality of their entitlement came crashing down, and instead of banding together, they turned on each other. I heard them fighting one night. Noah blamed Lily for spending too much on clothes. Lily accused Noah of wasting money on his friends. Sarah tried to mediate but sounded exhausted and scared. The next morning, Sarah approached me differently. Softer. She touched my arm as I made coffee. Her floral perfume, the one I'd given her for our anniversary, wrapped around me, triggering memories I was desperately trying to compartmentalize. "I know you're upset," she said, "but we need to work this out for the family." I flinched at the word family. The coffee sloshed over the rim of my mug, burning my fingers. I didn't wipe it away. The pain felt clarifying. "What family?" I asked. "According to you and the kids, I'm just some guy you married, a guardian, a paycheck." "That's not fair." Her voice hardened, the softness evaporating like morning dew. "Isn't it? Let me ask you something, Sarah. If I lost my job tomorrow and couldn't provide any more, would you still want me here? Her hesitation was my answer, but she wasn't done. You're being childish, she said, crossing her arms. Of course we value you beyond money, but your attitude lately, this passive-aggressive punishment, it's proving you're not who I thought you were. My laugh came out bitter and sharp. That's rich. I'm not who you thought I was. What about who I thought you were? What about the family I thought we were building? We are a family, her voice rose. But you're trying to replace Robert. You've always tried to erase him to make the kids forget. I've never once asked them to forget their father, I cut in, my voice dangerously quiet. I've kept his pictures on the walls. I've driven them to his grave on his birthday every year. I've asked them to tell me stories about him so they wouldn't forget. Then, why do you get so hurt when they don't treat you like their real dad? Because I am their real dad. Not their biological father, no, but being a father is about more than DNA. It's about showing up. It's about sacrifice. It's about love. And I have loved them, loved all of you with everything I have. Sarah's face flushed. If you loved us, you wouldn't be withholding money to punish us. And there it was, the truth laid bare between us. If you loved me, I countered, you wouldn't reduce 5 years of my life to a dollar sign. We stared at each other across the kitchen island, strangers sharing coffee. That weekend, I found an apartment. Small, 1-bedroom, nothing special. The leasing agent's pitying look when I listed one occupant on the application form made my stomach turn. I'd become a walking cliché, middle-aged man starting over, downsizing his life to fit into a space meant for one. Back home, no, at the house, I wandered from room to room while they were at Sarah's mother's, touching doorframes where we'd marked the kids' heights each birthday, running my fingers over the dining table where we'd shared thousands of meals, standing in Noah's doorway, remembering nights spent assembling Lego sets long past bedtime. Lily's room smelled like strawberry shampoo and the vanilla candles she'd become obsessed with. Sarah had called them a fire hazard. I'd bought her a proper candle warmer to keep her safe while letting her express herself. It sat on her dresser, unused. A small rebellion against the man who wasn't really her father. In our bedroom, Sarah's bedroom now, I sat on the edge of the bed we'd shared. My throat constricted as I remembered lazy Sunday mornings with small bodies jumping between us, demanding pancakes. The nightmares I'd soothed. The Christmas mornings. The life I thought we were building. Had any of it been real? I packed methodically, my movements mechanical. Clothes, toiletries, a few books, my father's watch. I left the furniture, they would need it more than me. Leaving the family photos, taking them felt like stealing moments that perhaps had never truly belonged to me. I left my keys on the counter with a note explaining that I'd continue to pay the mortgage for 3 months, enough time for her to figure out next steps. My hand shook as I signed my name. Just my name. Not Love, Jack, or any of the dozen pet names we'd used over the years. The finality of it hollowed me out. I outlined what I would and wouldn't pay for moving forward. Child support, yes, I'd adopted them legally, and regardless of their feelings, I took that responsibility seriously. But no more blank checks. No more being the bad guy while Sarah played the hero with my money. My phone exploded with texts and calls when they returned home. I didn't answer. Not that day or the next. When I finally did, it was to speak with a mediator about separation terms. Sarah was furious, accused me of abandonment, said the kids were devastated. They need you, she said, her voice breaking. We need you. No, I replied. You need what I provide. There's a difference. That was 2 months ago. Since then, Noah has texted twice. Once to ask for money for car insurance, I refused. Once to ask if he could come over, I said not yet. Lily called crying last week, saying she missed me. I told her I missed her too, but needed time. Sarah alternates between anger and pleading. She suggested counseling, promised changes. But I've seen who she is now, who they all are. The hardest lesson I've learned is this. Sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes respect matters more. Sometimes walking away is the only path to self-preservation. I still send child support. Still check the school portal to monitor their grades. Still have Noah and Lily's pictures on my bedside table. But I've stopped begging for love from people who see me as a resource rather than a father. Stopped letting myself be the villain in someone else's narrative. Stopped accepting scraps of affection in exchange for everything I had to give. Today, I received divorce papers from Sarah's lawyer. Creative accounting, making it seem like I've left them destitute. Asking for alimony on top of child support. Painting me as controlling because I stopped funding a lifestyle we couldn't afford. I hired my own lawyer, not out of spite but self-respect. Maybe someday Noah and Lily will understand. Maybe they'll realize that love shouldn't be conditional. That respect goes both ways. That family isn't just sharing DNA or a last name. It's showing up, being present, treating each other with dignity. Or maybe they won't. Maybe I'll always be the bad guy who walked away. Either way, I've found a strange peace in this empty apartment with half-unpacked boxes. I'm building something new here, something honest. A life where I'm not just some guy someone married. A life where love and respect aren't competing forces. A life where I finally understand that sometimes walking away isn't giving up, it's refusing to be invisible in your own family. If I had known then what I know now, I would have established boundaries from the beginning. I would have insisted on being a partner, not just a provider. I would have required respect as a non-negotiable condition of my presence. But I didn't know, so I gave everything, expected nothing, and ended up with less than I started with. Now I'm starting over at 42. It's terrifying, it's liberating, it's necessary. My phone lights up. Another text from Noah. Can we talk for real this time? I stare at the message for a long time. My thumb hovers over the screen. The old Jack would have jumped at this olive branch, would have rushed to repair bridges regardless of who burned them. The new Jack, the one still finding his footing, knows better. Whatever I decide, it will be on my terms this time, with eyes wide open and boundaries firmly in place. That's the thing about walking away. Sometimes it's the only way to find out who will care enough to follow, and who was just along for the ride. The hardest lesson wasn't learning to leave. It was understanding that sometimes love requires us to stand firm rather than bend until we break. That self-respect isn't selfish, it's necessary. That you cannot pour from an empty cup, and my cup had been running on fumes for years. I've learned that family isn't just about who you're related to, by blood or by law. It's about reciprocity, mutual respect, genuine appreciation for each other's place in the shared story you're writing together. Most importantly, I've learned that teaching others how to treat you sometimes means walking away when the lesson isn't getting through. Not as punishment, but as protection for yourself and, ironically, for them. Because what kind of example was I setting by accepting disrespect? What was I teaching Noah and Lily about relationships by allowing myself to be devalued? True love, whether for a partner, a child, or yourself, sometimes means making the hardest choice of all, to release what isn't working to create space for what might. I typed my response to Noah, yes, Saturday, noon, the cafe near the park. Then I set my phone down and continue unpacking my new life, one box at a time.